Chapter 11. It was as if his dream couldn't wait to get going. At first the darkness was just that of his room, but slowly he started to make out points of light on the ceiling. Tango. A voice in his ear, faint but distinct. Tango, report. He said, clear, and the voice went quiet. Suddenly 2 thin red lines appeared, a crosshair with the centre down and to his right. At the intersection a faint dot of light which was moving upwards, the lines tracking it. Another voice. Type 7, distance 3.5, Delta D 0.03, velocity 0.9, Delta V 0, no threat. Then slightly behind the crosshair a red box enclosing 3, maybe 4 dots. Potential threat, Type 32, distance 4.0, Delta D 0.4, velocity 1.3, Delta V 0, closing target 1. The Type 32 was more of a fleet than a single battleship, a set of intelligent units that could tight dock for long-distance travelling, or split up into a cloud of individual drones that attacked a larger ship like a pack of hyenas pulling down a lion. According to the high scan, the ship was in 3 large parts with a couple of units outside the main pack. A typical attack formation. Spacing some sensors as outriders gave the ship's computer a much higher resolution for ESW, electromagnetic sensing and warfare. His ship was no match for a Type 32, but he knew that the pirate was unaware of his presence. He was in dark mode, radiating almost nothing above normal background levels, and he had no official business in this sector anyway. Perhaps he could save the target ship by blocking the 32's inter-unit comms. His main ESW computer had already cracked frequency allocation and data packet types. One of the benefits of being a policeman, you might not get the big guns, but your ship is fast and very, very clever. The panel lit up. The computer had got the 32's code. It was a pirate, and not a very smart one either. The ship was listed missing from a planetary survey team. The pirates had reprogrammed the encryption systems, but left everything else alone. It even had its old ident still active, Beaver Club 5. He didn't want to drop dark mode and then fluff it, so he went by the book. There were still a couple of minutes before the Type 7 was in serious danger, no need to hurry. His computer retrieved the 32 schema and all the modifications that the Beaver Club had made to it. There were a couple of options. Perhaps the most alluring was to convince the pirate ship it was a slave in fleet mode. Then, believing that all of its units were part of a larger group and under the control of some central command, they would obediently follow orders, and he could tell the 32 to not only break off the attack, but fly to the nearest station with its guns jettisoned. Arrest by proxy, pat on the back. But he had to reconfigure some of his comms to make his ship look like a fleet queen and hope he could bypass the security on the pirate so that its controller would accept his status. This shouldn't be possible, the 32 schemer insisted, but he was quite sure that the modified operating systems on board hadn't been given a full security audit. Not for a planetary survey, and definitely not by pirates. A soft chime, and the computer gave a 95% confidence reading that it could take control of the pirate vessel. Just in time. As the box on the main screen touched the intersection of the tracking lines, he gave the command. There was nothing he could do but watch. His main transmitter directed a tight beam of microwaves at the 3 main units of the Type 32, while the propulsors fired and started to twist his own ship into a jitter path. Just in case. In rapid succession, his computer told the 32's controller to turn off its transmitters, accept new orders, re-establish contact with the separate units, and take off. Immediately, the pirate ship responded. The outriders clustered in towards the 3 central parts, and they coalesced into cruise formation. The attack broken off, the computer reported that complete control had been established. Shortly afterwards, there were 7 explosions around the hull of the ship, and the main armaments of the pirates were spiked. Good enough, he thought, and sent the standard arrest message. Now he was out of dark mode, he could find out a bit more about that Type 7. If he was lucky, there might be a reward in it for him. The scan showed the target ship on its old course. He opened an auxiliary comm channel and identified himself. Strange, the other ship's automatic transponder wasn't working. His computers could get no ident out of it. Threat! Evading! Said his computer, but it had been as surprised as he was by the thin laser from the Type 7 in precisely its main comms antenna array. It was over in a very visual flash of vaporizing metal. Mostly blind and deaf, his ship continued jittering until the main computer decided that, without most of the scans active, it was too dangerous to fly randomly. As soon as the ship steadied, the 3 more lasers surgically removed what remained of his communications and ESW sensors. The Type 7 must have had a powerful transmitter itself, as it established comms through the melted stub of his main array.
That was a clever takeover, Mr. Policeman. I needed a new ship, and a 32 will do nicely. Hope you don't mind me stepping in and taking over in turn.
There was another final laser, this time directed at his propulsors. Alarms went off, but only briefly, then his drive subnovaed. An instant of bright light, an infinity of darkness. Infinities aren't supposed to end, but this one did. At least it got put on hold. A hand on his shoulder, a weight off his head, and he realised he was breathing. His hands were locked, spasm tight on the armrests of a chair, and he was very, very tired. And alive. Careless D, but you won't make that mistake again. This is the first time you've sim-died, I think. Quite an experience, isn't it? His instructor was holding the simulator headpiece, and he was at the academy, of course. It wasn't the psychic shock of simulated death, which rumour had it was at least as nasty as the real thing. It was the realisation that he'd made his first major mistake in 6 months of training. Such a basic error, too. His hands were still tight in a death grip, and the pain of unclenching them took his mind off things. All over his body, muscles were cramping and popping, and it was a while before he could talk without grimacing. People do that for kicks. You can go much further than that with a simulator if you've a mind to. Many people don't have, and those that do find it difficult to hold on to. I don't know how I made such a mistake, but why didn't the computer recognise the Type 7 as a threat before it fired? Could be lots of reasons. Ships aren't always what they appear, even to computers. But it's unlikely that your computer will be so effectively fooled. Even so, perhaps you'll not trust the thing quite so much. If it's any consolation, which it isn't, of course, not to our star pupil, nobody expected you to survive that one. I thought no-wins weren't on the syllabus. Perhaps it wasn't a no-win. But you've got two things now. You know that smart computers aren't infallible, and even more important, you know that you're just the same. Do I get a run-through? Stay asked, who knew perfectly well that computers were never 100% reliable, but was annoyed at himself for trusting them anyway. Not now. We'd rather keep that one for later. Think about it anyway. I expect the usual report by 1300. Which was only 2 hours away. Barely time to write a 1,000-word analysis of the situation. No reason to waste time going back to his quarters. He just swiveled the chair around to a terminal position and started inputting. It was much easier than normal, perversely. Perhaps the shock had helped him memorise the events with greater clarity than usual. He finished with a quarter of an hour to go and wandered off to get some refreshment before the afternoon's class session in the xenobiology labs. Xeno, studying alien life, was quite interesting, but not what he'd got into the police service for. Hey, Blue! Great, a couple of people he didn't want to see just at the moment. Hey, Blue! That was Chis, a tall, lanky youth with no hair and very green eyes. Heard you blew the sim this morning. Sat there where the baddies lazed your ears off. We think you're losing your touch, star boy. Your sympathy is touching, Chis, but despite your adoration of my godlike status, I would like to remind you that I am human. Human? With that skin? Look at you, Blue. The only humans that colour are those that jack up with Jack's squid ink. Unless you got a habit you're hiding. You a Jack's freak, Squiddy? Chis' friend Jello was also envious of what she regarded as the preferential treatment that Steve got from the course supervisors. She was also probably the best pilot in the place, from any year, but didn't have the tactical nous to back it up. She didn't think so, though, and more than once complained bitterly that the others had fixed the simulators to hold her back. That's it, Jello. I spent my evenings high as a kite by injecting some alien fish juice into me. Wonder why no one spotted it before. You must be exceptionally perceptive today. The effects of sim death were still there, unlike Steve's normal patience and good humour. Ooh, touchy! You're losing it, Blue, and your pretty skin won't help you when you get jetted for incompetence. Jello was, however, good at tactical teasing. We'll see. I can't stand here all day in pleasant conversation, you two. I've got to go and crash a few more spaceships. You seem to be getting good at that. Chris got back into the needling. Just try and pick up the pieces for the Xeno this afternoon. We need an interesting specimen. Jill and I are a little bored with worms. Well, this little one seems bored with us, said Jella, and they walked off loudly discussing the breeding habits of the blue-ringed Syrian skyworm. Steve wondered how they knew the details of his morning session on the sim. Although the general trend of everyone's progress was no big secret, what happened in the sim was supposed to be confidential between himself, his instructor, and the main computer who planned the course and, hopefully, qualified the students. He was sure that his instructor wouldn't gossip about the incident, which meant that someone was rather too familiar with the computer. But cracking the academy computer was, almost without exception, a jetting offence, and he didn't want to accuse anyone, even Chris and Jella, before he had some evidence. He forgot about the coffee and sandwiches and went back to his room to make a few private calls.